on now, fellas. We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Chris Yao wrapping up vacation down on the Gulf Coast. Looking forward to getting him back in the studio here next week. In the meantime, joining us now is CBS Sports betting analyst Allan Bell. Allan, good afternoon.
Man, good afternoon, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys having me. And let me say this. One of your advertisements there, Custom Stone Handlers, they did some work for a friend of mine on the side of their house. Beautiful, perfect work. So I saw that commercial pop up and had to give them a shout out. Yeah, they do excellent work. Hey,
I tell you what, there's none better than Ned and that gang over there at Custom Stone Handlers. They do a fantastic job. Allan, before we get into what I brought you on for, I saw a tweet of yours at Allan, ALLAN Bell 24/7 earlier today. And in light of what we were just discussing a little bit ago, I wanted to get back to it here. If I can find it real quick. So again, at Allan Bell 24/7, quick story. Years ago at my first Super Bowl media room, I'm set to talk with Tom Brady. I mean, I'm never nervous with anything, but it's Tom Brady, right? Susie Colbert is sitting next to me. She sees, gives me a quick nudge on the shoulder and says, "You'll crush it, dude." I've not been lucky enough to be in Susie Colbert's presence, but from all indications, everything I've seen, everything I've heard, that's just the type individual she was in the sports journalism world. And I think she's certainly going to be missed. And again, looking forward to seeing where she pops up next. But those were pretty nice words on your part about her as she departs ESPN.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she's just a certified professional and just awesome. Like, she's just cool, right? Like, she didn't have to do that at all, but it helped a ton, right? And then let me also say this. Like, there was the part of me also nervous looking over saying, that's Susie Colbert. You know what I mean? Like, she's that high level of, just an individual in this game for so long too, right? But absolutely, man. Like, I hate to see everything that's going on over at ESPN. A lot of good people that have put in a lot of work for a really long time. Her being the very top of that. And just wanted to, just put something out in the ether there that she is really, really cool. And I was just a young pup, that didn't know what he was doing. And she saw it. I didn't know her, never talked to her, never met her, nothing. She saw it, identified it, and just, kind of relaxed me. You know what I mean? She didn't have to do any of that. And that's just the type of person that, apparently that she is, man. And couldn't thank her enough for that. So, yeah, can't wait to see what her next spot's going to be because, she's too good. She's going to be doing good.
Yep. Yeah. We talked on our show yesterday about the NFL suspension of Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere for violating the league's gambling policy. We talked about Petit-Frere because he was the most significant to us. And it was particularly odd that he was suspended for 6 games for betting on non-NFL sports at the club facility. There were 3 other players suspended yesterday as well, including now former Colts Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry and free agent Demetrius Taylor. They are suspended through at least the entire 2023 season after betting on NFL games last season. Now, Allan, again, you are a betting analyst for CBS Sports. As professional sports and sports books get closer to with each other? Do you feel like this is going to be more of an issue? Do you feel this is too much of an issue? I mean, where is this? Because I think Petit Ferrer's in particular is a little bit hypocritical. As I said yesterday, I get not wanting guys to bet on games that they're playing in, maybe a sport that they're participating in. But I mean, where is the line? What is the line? Does this make sense?
So, all right, you ask a great question, and it's basically, I mean, let's just picture a tree, and there are branches coming out all over this large oak tree, okay? So, with the Colts players, as you mentioned, betting on the actual game, yeah, I mean, they have to do that. Now, Ferrer, that is the interesting one, okay? Understand, we can walk and chew gum because there are like 5 conversations to be had about this. I think that they went too heavy on him. However, I get it and I understand. Now, you asked the question, where is the line? You know what? I think players are asking the same thing. And I think that Ferrer probably has a conversation to be had on his part of, well, how much did we know of how far that this goes? Because there's a large difference between betting on the NFL and betting on another sport, right? But it's just because you were in the team facility or a team hotel. Did the players know that it went that far? I don't know. They know now. However, yeah, like I'm not sure of how much information that the players had. That being said, the largest part overall is that I get why the NFL is doing this, because let's just be completely honest. We've seen the conversation being had on Twitter of, well, there are players arrested for domestic violence or a crime or whatever, performance-enhancing drugs, failing a drug test that get, say, 4 games. Why did he get 6 games? I agree. I'm not saying that like the punishment is correct, right? But from the NFL's perspective, this entire thing, and they might be the most powerful company in the United States, this is the one thing that can bring it all down. This is it. There's no other crime that can be committed. They've handled murders. They've handled everything. This is the one thing that can bring the entire operation down, because if you ever lose credibility, you will never get it back. It's impossible to get it back, and it's done. It's absolutely done. So that being said, there are a lot of conversations to be had, but overall, I absolutely get why the NFL is so heavy-handed with this, because it's the one thing that scares them to death.
Protecting the shield. I mean, it's all about it. The league's integrity, I guess, and like I said again, with the Petit Ferrer situation in particular, I don't know how what he did threatens the NFL. I get that you can't have guys betting on games that they may have some impact on, or that they may know something about. They may know somebody's injury situation, something like that. I also get that you don't want these guys getting deep in debt and somebody having some leverage over them, and potentially you've got a situation where you've got games being thrown and that kind of thing. I get that as well in their sport. Petit Ferrer to me is just a unicorn in this situation, because I don't know what it is he was betting on, but I mean, it seems obvious that he was not betting on the NFL. And so I don't know why he's not just another guy at that point.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you. And he's definitely in the brutal spot of being the example guy, right? Like that's what it is. Let's just be completely honest with you. Now, there are 2 things, actually just one thing in regards to this. I wonder how the conversation went between him, his agent, the NFL PA, right? Mm-hmm. And the NFL as a whole. Did they come to an agreement on this number? Will he be able to appeal this, right? Like, because I could see the NFL saying, all right, we're going to come out heavy-handed, eat it, own it, don't say anything, let a month go by, appeal it, we'll cut this thing in half, right? Like I could see, I'm not saying that happens, but I could see it being that, saying, look, let's unfortunately let us use you to get this out, and we'll talk in 30 days. Now, be
a good soldier.
Yep.
And we'll take it. But you've put yourself in this position for us to be able to use you, and we're going to. But yeah,
100%. And also, you brought up a good question too, right? Of, okay, well, you look at, Nissan Stadium, there's huge BetMGM, signings and advertisements, not only at the stadium, a huge billboard right outside the stadium. Jamie Foxx's face was on it forever. Place a bet, right? Like, there's that part too. And here's another question that I have that I don't know the answer to. These teams that have these partnerships, do the players get a cut of this money? I don't know, because it's different in every state. It's not legal in every state, so you don't have the advertisements across all 32. So if the players get a cut, and it's known from the beginning, saying, look, we know that it sounds contradictory. You can't do it even though we're advertising it, but that's why we're paying you a cut. I can understand that. If they're not getting a cut, then it sounds a whole lot more like, okay, well, you're kind of playing both sides of the fence here. So I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question, but it's definitely something, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, not to get too big picture on you, Allan, but as more states, this is relatively still, a new phenomenon outside of Las Vegas and Nevada, within the last 5 or 6 years. As leagues in particular kind of develop these relationships with books, where do you see this kind of landing? Where do you see this kind of ending? Because as this becomes, we weren't having these stories about suspensions 2 or 3 years ago. Obviously, now it's kind of coming into the news cycle fairly frequently. And I guess I'm curious, how far will leagues, and I guess while we're on the topic of the NFL, how far will the NFL continue to leverage those sponsorships? Because obviously we're talking about a ton of money coming in, but at what cost and at what point do you potentially throw that into question?
Yeah. So that's another great question. All right. So first off, understand that, like you said, it's not legal across all 50 states. We're really only at maybe half. Like it's a minimum. And think about this. Side note, for the sports betting industry, we're already talking about $1 billion industry already. Okay. We don't have it legal in California, Texas, and Florida. The 3 largest states in the country do not have it. When they do, that is going to be a massive, massive influx, because let's be honest, people are betting in these states. They have been. That's why there was so much money right out of the gate, because it's not like it's a new product. It's just a new legal product, right? Now, you ask about how it's going to go in the NFL and how further that it's going to go. Understand this. Sportsbooks, when they advertise with a team, with a show, with anything, their number one goal, all right, the entire goal of the advertisement is to get users to sign up with their book. That's it. That's all that they want. So what you'll see is that they'll always be a part of it for sure, but there is a ceiling on this, right? Like you'll see books move of where they go of, all right, we're going to advertise here, we're going to advertise there, because it's a game of getting new people. So they'll always be involved, but beyond, like, we're seeing some stadiums put sports books in the stadium, right? Like, which is crazy to hear, but that's about as far as it goes. So understand that it's here and it's prevalent, but there's not a whole lot more, because you kind of maximize what you'll get out of that market. Then you just start looking elsewhere. You'll start looking at betting shows. You'll start looking at radio shows. Like, it's just a circle that they go around, if that makes sense.
Allan Bell, betting analyst for CBS Sports, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Allan, I don't know how familiar you are with the rules and regulations surrounding gambling in other professional leagues, but does anyone else that you're aware of have the hands off on betting on other sports in certain instances?
Well, it's not as prevalent as the NFL and what they've done and put out over the last, say, 30 days, right? Now, it's understood. And pin this, we're going to talk about this in 1 second. the NBA obviously, has been ahead of it. The NBA is an unbelievably marketing genius company, right? I know that my syntax in English there was awful, but they're fantastic and they get it. They've been ahead of it. You haven't really seen a problem with that. MLS, some of these other sports, it really hasn't been a problem because the NFL does a trillion times more betting, more money, everything thrown at it, right? So the NFL is kind of setting the standard for what these leagues will ultimately follow. Now, here's the interesting question that I throw back to you guys. College football and college basketball, massive sports that are bet. I'm surprised that we haven't seen more issues come out of college players than we have with NFL players, because think about it. Like if you're a quarterback at Texas or, Tennessee, wherever, these guys have buddies that are betting, and they're not flat out asking them serious stuff, but they are asking, all right, how's this injury? How's this? How's that? College players have to deal with this, and they can't bet on anything whatsoever, whether they're in the stadium, facility, at home, anything. And we really haven't seen too many. Really, the only issues we've seen are in college baseball, oddly enough. So I'm fascinated to see how basketball and football go on the college ranks, because that's where you would think you could see some problems. And we really haven't seen it, at least yet, right?
Let me ask you this, though, Alan, playing devil's advocate just a second. Do you reckon we're not seeing it either because, A, the NCAA doesn't really have a way to look, or B, because the NCAA is kind of taking a don't ask, don't tell type approach to it that we see nothing,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll answer it for you. You're right on the NCAA. Like, they're fighting their own battles of if they even are relevant or matter, right? But look at college baseball. And I'll tell you this, not only like going back to the NFL, not only is the NFL fighting this, it's not the NFL that's coming up with finding the problems. It's the sports books and the software programs that they use, because understand this, the sports books as well do not want these problems. This is a business. This is $1 billion business for them. They want everything on the up and up as much as possible, right? These are publicly traded companies. Like, they do not want these problems as well. So with college, like we saw with the Alabama coach and we've seen with some teams, that's the sports books in their software security programs identifying and seeing issues already, and then it's investigated and they find out. So whether the NCAA puts its head in the sand or not, these sports books are going to regulate it. Like, they'll find it on their own and investigate. So that's another thing that, if you're a sports bettor that's brand new, and you're, concerned about this, like, understand, not only are the leagues very much on top, these sports books are absolutely on top. And look at the work that they've done. They found these guys quick. You're not going to get past the software. I'm telling you, you're not going to. Yeah.
And that raises a question that I have for you, Alan. Obviously, we know the NFL would hope this is kind of a once and for all type deal. We saw with Calvin Ridley, and, we're hoping that this kind of smooths over. But I guess I'm curious, how many more of these instances are we likely still to see coming? And I guess if you really wanted to maybe go down a wormhole, are we looking at, is it going to take one giant player start getting in trouble before this thing will really, really kind of gets maybe potentially stamped out once and for all?
Yeah, so I'll say this. I don't think that this is going to be a large problem, right? Like, I think that we're seeing it now because there are questions of, Freire is the perfect example. Like, it's known. You have to be an idiot if you don't know not to bet on your own sport, right? Like, that's right out of the gate. But he is kind of the example of, okay, this is how far that this thing goes, right? And I think that every player sees it, every coach, every team. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be that large of a problem, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, there will be some knuckleheads for sure with anything. But I think that, like, the NFL is doing a good job of bringing the hammer down now, educating everyone involved with it. And also, you'll see smart teams, like when they put the rules out, the NFL does, and they say, all right, look, you can bet on other sports. Just don't do it in the facility or don't do it at the team hotel. Well, what you'll see from teams that are smart is that they'll use programs and software like companies do to block these apps, block these websites, right? To where you can't even access them. So the teams that are smart are working on that right now to saying, all right, let's do as much as we can to eliminate the problem so that it's physically impossible to do that, right? And then, if you go way out of your way to get, a VPN IP blocker, it's on you, bro. Like, you know what? We can't help you. There's nothing we can do. So I think the smart teams end up doing that. So long story short, it'll always be there, but I think that this is going to be a pretty quickly educated topic and players will get it pretty fast.
Allan Bell, betting analyst for CBS Sports, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, and bringing us some knowledge that we certainly did not have. So, Allan, really appreciate you taking some time with us here on a Friday afternoon. Wade, you got your pen up. Did you have something to throw in real quick?
I got something real earth-shattering for Allan, of course, here. It's 4th of July coming up soon. I know you've been digging and poring over your notes on the Joey Chestnut hot dog line for Tuesday. What can you tell our viewers and our listeners about the hot dog eating contest on Tuesday?
Absolutely. All right. So here's the thing with Chestnut, right? I mean, obviously the greatest of all time. My man crushes it here. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. And what that does is it actually, this is going to be gross, but it softens the buns and the meat. So when they go to dunk in the water, it actually is going to be easier to knock these things down. Take the over. My man is coming out. Yeah, ride the over, 100%.
You got it wrote down. I knew you would bring the knowledge, and that's exactly what I was looking for, my man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I am going to tell you with all certainty that there is not another sports show that would tell you what Joey Chestnut's going to do on Tuesday. Allan Bell at Allan Bell 24/7 here with us on Main Street Sports today. Allan, appreciate you. Have a good holiday next week.
Hey, you guys too, man. It's an honor to be on with you guys. I really, really appreciate it, and look forward to the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Allan.
Absolutely. Wait, that was unbelievable.
I had to, Mo. I mean, everybody's looking for a little bit of an edge, right? I mean, we had Allan on. You gotta at least ask, right?
Little insider information there. There you go. Hey,
I was not prepared for the level of professionalism, though, on the delivery, though. Very detailed and thorough answer, which I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by from Allan.
You shouldn't have been surprised. Ask and answer. There you go.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton here with you in the Mobile League Company studio, joined now by Brewers number 7 overall prospect and what we believe, Mo, is the ace of this Nashville Sound staff, and that is Robert Gasser. Robert, thanks for taking some time with us, man.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Hey, as the ace, got this series off to a good start, as we mentioned in the first segment, picked up the victory in the Sounds 11-3 win over Gwinnett on Tuesday, improving to 5-1 on the year with 4.65 ERA and 72 strikeouts in 62 innings. That ain't bad.
Yeah, we'll take it.
First full year in AAA?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the transition been like for you?
It was really beneficial getting a little taste of it last year, coming and just getting familiar with Jeremy. But this year, it's nice coming back comfortable. Start of the year, it's kind of just trying to find my groove again, just finding the strike zone more consistently. But as the season's kind of picked up,
clearly has done that.
Yeah, walks have gone down, and results are a little bit better.
And that's when you're throwing more strikes, obviously you have to lean on the defense a little bit. You've got some veterans behind you, which probably gives you a little bit of confidence, huh?
Yeah, well, it's definitely helpful on defense, but when they're putting up 8 runs,
that doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, it gives you a little confidence up there.
Just find the strike zone, put it in it, let them work, and you're good to go. Well, and certainly that has been a recipe for success this year for you. Is that something that you are hoping that will translate as hopefully your career moves forward?
Yeah, I mean, as you can climb higher, guys are able to hit more pitches. So, throwing them in the zone and throwing them in good locations and relying on that defense behind you because, they're there to do their job too. So when you got confidence in them making plays and, getting guys out, it's really helpful pitching.
This team, I think, is now like 3 games over 500. You got to like the way you guys as a team are playing right now, starting to find your groove as a team, I guess.
Yeah. It seems like almost every series we've split the series. So, it's kind of good because, seems like we're a couple pitches away every game from, winning those 4-2. So, our record, I think, doesn't necessarily, I think it's going to get better as the season goes on just because, guys are consistent and we got a lot of veteran presidents.
Yeah, and we've talked to Jeff Hamm, the play-by-play announcer for the Sounds, fairly regularly over the course of the season. Been a lot of movement, even as Milwaukee is having the success that they've had. There's been a lot of movement between their roster and y'all's roster. Eventually, as their injuries start to heal and they start to solidify their roster with guys that they expected to have from the start, some of those folks are going to start trickling back down. And like you said, you would think that's going to have a positive impact on y'all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially, guys up and down the lineup have been good all year, coming in and out. So kind of once those lineups get solidified, I guess, guys are going to get their consistent at-bats and, things are only going to keep going up from there.
Certainly helps when you're getting guys back, too.
Yeah.
From the injury list.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I think we got Van Meter on his way back, too. So that's another guy who's, been up there and, knows the way around winning ball club. So excited to have all those guys.
Robert Gasser of the Nashville Sounds joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Robert, you mentioned that you kind of got a taste of AAA last year, 5 appearances, 2-2. What's the difference in that short stint that you spent here last year and being able to actually settle in this time around?
I think it's just like seeing names that you've seen on TV before and like, approaching them as, somebody you can get out, not necessarily, as a fan of somebody's like, oh, I've seen this guy on TV. I got a little starstruck last year, but this year it's, especially during spring training, getting a taste of that. just kind of help, calm me down and realize that like I can compete at the highest level. So hopefully I get an opportunity for that.
Well, and not only are those guys you facing have been on TV, but a lot of the guys in your clubhouse have. What kind of impact does that have on you as a young player?
Yeah, I mean, it's, hitters, especially for me, pitchers, there's a ton of them. A lot of the guys you just sit around with and talk and listen.
The listening part, that's important, right?
Yeah, that's crucial. Sometimes I forget about that, but I do my best to soak it all in, especially just like sitting in watching bullpens and seeing guys throw and just how they, go after their work. So I think that's kind of really beneficial for me.
Who's been a guy that you've kind of looked to on this team so far that's helped you get to this point?
My roommate Caleb Bosley has been doing it for a while, and he's got a very consistent approach, and it seems like every time he goes out there, he's kind of just the same person, and has a plan and knows what makes him good. So kind of realizing, like, looking at him, it's been helpful. Especially as a roommate, he can kind of converse about baseball or life and all that good stuff. So we've we're good friends.
So what do you do after day one after your start? You've obviously you're going to rest, you're going to stretch, but what does today look like 4 days later or 3 days later?
Yeah, I got a bullpen today, a bullpen and an upper body lift. So I'll do those things for the game, and then probably maybe get in the cold tub if we're feeling brave, and then just go watch a game, kind of keep following the hitters a little bit, and get ready for the game on Sunday.
Sit out here long enough, you'll want that. You'll get in the cold tub for sure.
Yeah, it's starting to get hot out here.
It's starting to get hot here in just the summer. It's just June now in Nashville, so you never know. It could be 72 or it could be 92.
Yeah, it was nice on Monday. I played some golf with some nice overcast 72 weather.
Yeah,
so that was great.
Yeah.
Where'd you play?
Greystone.
Greystone over in Dixon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Made a little trip, but it was worth it.
Okay.
It was a good time.
Yeah. Originally drafted by the Padres, involved in the trade that sent Josh Hader to San Diego. What's it like getting traded?
It was pretty crazy. I was actually on the golf course for that. So that was pretty,
you spend a lot of time on the golf course.
Yeah, I try to fill my time with some more sports. That's all I really enjoy. But
and he doesn't have to swing a bat anymore, so swinging a golf club's fine.
Yeah,
nobody gets mad at you.
I was never good at swinging a bat, so
that's why
I'm not the best at golf either. But
you get your money's worth, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
There you go.
I lose a little bit, gain a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, it was crazy. So I was on the course, got the call. Pretty much finished around not very well, and then went to the field, packed my bags, went home, packed the rest of my personal stuff, and was on a flight the next day to Mississippi. And it was crazy because you just got to pick up your whole life and move on. But it was really cool to just like kind of see that and get to be a part of that, and get put into the organization and feel like they're invested in you. And it was really cool process.
And I guess that's the way you have to look at it, that another organization is invested in you and not necessarily that the initial organization didn't necessarily want you.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I had nothing but good things for the Padres. So
he's like, hey, look, I got traded for the best closer in baseball at the time, so I'm good. You'll take that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be forever linked to Josh Hader. So there's that.
Yeah, for real.
You mentioned off the air before we got on, as you were asking about us in the area and that kind of thing, while you were in the Padres organization, you played with a local kid, Robert Hassel III, who played at Independence before the Padres drafted him, who has since been traded as well.
Yeah.
So Padres doing some things here over the last year or so for whatever it's been worth. Do you look back over there? I mean, I guess you still got some guys over there as well.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of my buddies still over there. It's like they were my draft class. We kind of just, worked our way up together, for the short year and a half that we had. But, I'm still like talking to those guys. Hopefully I'll get to see them over the All-Star break and play some golf. I think one of me and my buddies are playing something, so we'll see.
So then will you try to go home over the break, back to NorCal?
The flight's a little far, and it's kind of just like, I don't think it's worth the travel. I think I'd rather just drive to a nice spot and relax there for a couple days, and get back on Thursday night and head to Louisville Friday. I think is what it is. Louisville, maybe
That would make sense because I think the season started with that 3-game set, so another 3-game set.
So another Friday, Saturday,
sense.
Sunday. Yeah. Hey, one of the few things about this schedule that makes sense. But hey, anyway, you didn't say that. No, I'll say that.
We'll say it. Yeah, there's no question there. Yeah. But when you are a top 10 prospect in an organization, is there like a meeting that you guys have and say, hey, this is what we want for you? Don't get frustrated if you don't go up because we want you to get a year at AAA. Do they kind of give you an idea of what to expect?
I mean, not totally. You have your own expectations and thoughts that you bring, and I think that you can either take it as pressure or you can use it to motivate you to keep working. So I think the beginning of the year kind of I placed a little pressure on myself because obviously that's the ultimate goal and that's where you want to get. But
sure.
At the end of the day, we're just playing a game, and I'm lucky to be able to play it and do pretty well at times. So, if I just go out there and have fun, it makes it a little bit easier to have success.
And I guess the big thing that you really want to do is just make them have to make a decision, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, the only thing you control is yourself and, your actions and your thoughts and, how you show up every single day. So as long as you can, do those things and go to bed and, be confident that you did it to your best ability, that's all you can do.
Robert Gasser again here with us on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And minor league is a little different, but how's Nashville been for you? It's a kind of a major league town. We got 2 major league teams, so it's not exactly Biloxi.
No,
which I love, by the way.
No, yeah, Biloxi it was nice for the time that I was there. But no, Nashville is great. I don't think you're going to find a city in minor league baseball that's better than Nashville. I mean, there's just endless things to do. Great food, great golf. But yeah, I'm pumped to be here. It's so nice showing up every day and having just a boatload of fans out there. Tuesday or Sunday doesn't matter. It's always packed out here, so it's great.
Robert, looking back, you initially signed with New Mexico out of high school, spent a year at the junior college level, finished up at Houston before the draft. This may be about as long as you've spent in one place since you left high school.
Yeah, I've thought about that, and it's I almost felt like I've been preparing to get traded for the last couple of years. But yeah, it's really nice. It was like I said earlier, like being able to play here last year was really helpful because it's one of the first times in a while that I've gotten back to a place and been there before. So you show up, you feel a little more comfortable because the environment that you're in. So I'm really glad that I'm here for another year.
So in this day and time, and I'm a dinosaur, but I mean, you're from the West Coast. You may or may not be here for any extended period of time. Do you have a vehicle here, or do you just Uber all over the place?
I do have a vehicle. I did not have a vehicle last year, and it was a huge regret. So I made the trip. I drove from Arizona to Nashville for the season, 2 days. Just got in the car and did like 8 hours one day and then like 12 the next. So it was a grind, but it's very nice having a car.
And it's worth it to have a car here.
No doubt in my mind.
That's interesting. That's a question I would have never come up with, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, what do I do here?
I covered these guys for a pretty good while, and so I don't know all of the ins and outs of being a minor league baseball player, but I know a few, and the
mid-90s were a little different too.
Yeah, I mean, there was no Uber or anything like that. It's probably a little easier to get around nowadays without a car, but at the same time, me personally, I like being able to go out, get in my car, and go wherever it is I want to go.
Whenever I want to go, and I have to wait 30 minutes for them to get here.
Or longer.
You never know when it's going to get here.
Right.
On the road, we like to ride the little scooters around. They got those in town, so it's good to have those things. You can get place to place.
The front office may not want to hear that.
Yeah, you want to calm down.
Proud of you.
Oh man, well, Robert, we appreciate you being here with us, man. It's been really cool to talk to you, and looking forward to more of what you're doing here. We have been big fans ever since. We loved having Gasser and Junk on the same team. Thought that was one of the cooler things in minor league baseball. So
yeah, I love that one. That's a great combo.
Exactly. I don't know how you get better than that, but we appreciate you taking some time to stop by here and talking to us.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you on this fine Thursday afternoon. Glad to have you guys with us, and we are super excited to have with us on the Real Property Solutions Hotline, basketball coaches of Association of Tennessee's Bruce Slatton joining us. Thanks for taking some time, Bruce.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. How are y'all?
We're doing well, man. Just trying to stay cool. Not that I'm complaining, but it's a little warm out there, man.
It's getting a little warm, a little humid. And,
yeah.
Getting ready for summer basketball right now. So.
Oh, well, so now we brought you in, Bruce, because a couple of days ago, the National Federation announced some new basketball rules that will go into effect with the 23-24 season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will y'all be playing under those rules this summer in addition to playing under the show?
Well, that is the plan. Now, we were not expecting the rule changes, but we're going to try to go ahead and do those this summer with our camps in Memphis and Franklin and Nashville, or Lebanon, excuse me. And so we're going to try to do those just to get everybody used to it more than anything.
The new rules that we speak of, are particularly one of note, is the free throw rule that now says the 1-and-1 is done. No more 1-and-1. Never have to worry about those middle school kids running away and having to bring them back. That's always exciting.
Sure.
but after 5 fouls in each quarter, you'll shoot a double bonus. So there'll be 5 fouls per quarter, and they'll reset at the end of each quarter. Now,
yes,
that is a radical change, I would think.
Well, I think it is, and I think it's meant to speed the game up as well as to clean the game up, and make it just a little a little cleaner for officials and for teams. And the women's college game has had that now for several years, and for all intents and purposes, everybody seems to like the rule. That the women's college coaches seem to like it. I'm kind of old fashioned. I do like the 1-and-1 because I think that if you're behind, that helps you a little bit. But I think we're looking down the road at maybe adding the shot clock in a few years, and so I think some of those things will be kind of working their way out.
Well, me and you, we're gonna come to blows over this shot clock now. But, yeah. When you say speed it up, Bruce, and the next basketball game I coach will be my first. So let me correct you for saying that. But how in theory, in practice, how does that work?
Well, I think that Mo, what the thought process is behind it is that by cleaning the game up and not having the fouling to start earlier in the game. When you're down maybe 8 with 4 minutes to go and people start fouling to get the ball back, that helps that process, and it makes teams have to play better defensively throughout the game to avoid getting in foul trouble and be smarter offensively. So I think in turn, even though it is a 2-shot foul and technically that does take longer, the benefits of cleaning the game up throughout the course of the game, from what we've been told and seen is that seems to speed the game along a little bit.
Now, again, the shot clock is being tested, I guess, over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
With you guys, was this something that there would have been some testing with as well?
We had not planned on this until we saw the rule change earlier this week. We had planned on using the shot clocks in our camps just to get the coaches used to it and just to get their feedback more than anything. On it, because right now, none of our coaches have really played with a shot clock. So what we're looking at is in all of our surveys, we've had about 70 to 75% of our coaches that have said they're in favor of the shot clock, but they've never played with it. Mm-hmm. So once they get a chance to play with it, some opinions may change on that. And so we want to give we want to give our coaches the opportunity to play with it and see number one, how it affects their team. Number two, how it affects the officiating. That may be one or two, depending on how you look at it anyway. Mm-hmm. But to see how it's officiated, and so we're bringing in. I know in our Memphis camp, we're going to have a combination of college guys as well as high school coaches or high school officials. So that's going to be kind of our teaching point is to how to officiate it as well as how to play with it. So we're excited to be able to use it. I still think it's a few years away in Tennessee. Whether you want it or don't want it, I think it's going to be up to 5 to 7 years probably before we get it here. But we never know. So it may. The National Federation may say that it's approved in all states and put it in. Right now, it's on a state-by-state basis, but the National Federation has given the states that option to implement it with no penalty. So that's one reason that we're, that Mark Reeves and the TWSAA asked us to use the shot clock during our camps this summer.
Okay. As far as the foul situation, the new rules for fouls, is that something that they would have tested somewhere, or would that have just been based on surveys, or how would they have the impetus for that change?
That's a good question, because I had not seen that was even up for a vote, and that's probably my fault more than anyone's. But I think that it would, that they've done the testing on it on the women's side in college, and so I think that was part of the that they felt like that was just going to help the game along, and so they went ahead and implemented it. But I don't remember seeing a lot of information on that prior to finding out about the vote. or about the rule change. I'm sorry.
Right. So I mean, again, this is kind of meant to speed the game up, and I think it's certainly worth a try. But it's hard to put genies like this back in the bottle. So is this here to stay?
That's a good question. Usually when things are put in, they don't pull them away, and so it's going to be interesting to see. I think it's going to overwhelmingly. We're going to get an overwhelming feedback from our coaches this summer, and I think you'll see a lot of that next year. Especially early in the year, because earlier in the year, tendency is for the games to be called tight, and they're going to get control of the games early in the season, and so I think you're going to see you're going to see a lot of feedback early in the year, because now you have the chance to go to the double bonus every quarter. Which is unheard of, and at least on the high school level so far. And so I think there's going to be a lot of feedback, positive and negative, through the season next year. And I don't know that they'll reassess it, but I think it'll be here for at least the foreseeable future. And it I'm neither for it or against it, but I think it's just one of those things that we got to wait and see and make our judgment after the fact, because you just never know. When these rules come, you never know how they're going to affect the game until you play with it. So that's going to be something that we'll see down the road.
Bruce Slatton of the Basketball Coaches Association of Tennessee joining us here on the Real Property Solutions Hotline on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And Bruce, you just used a phrase a second ago that I guess goes away, the double bonus, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, since you're not, you're automatically on that fifth foul in the double bonus now. So it's just it's going to change. No question about that.
And so once you once you start shooting foul shots, and you will just shoot 2 through the end of the quarter, then there is no additional. Whether there's 6 fouls or whether there's 12, you're only going to shoot 2 free throws, right?
Yes, the way that I read the rule, and then it resets at the start of the next quarter. So that could in and of itself, like I said, clean up the game, because once you get into that double bonus in the first quarter, 2 things happen. All right, number one, you can continue to play the style you're playing and foul and get in the double bonus again, but you also understand that it resets, and you have a chance to reset what you're doing as a coach and as a team. So it does give you that leeway to understand, okay, here's how the game is going to be officiated. So we've got to change the style that we're playing in this game, or we're going to be in the double bonus, all 4 quarters. So I think it does help. It does help the coaches. I think it helps the players. Because you've got to, as a coach, you have to be able to teach your players, and what better way to stay on the floor than to not foul. So I think it'll help the game eventually. It may be rough, this year, but I think it's going to help the game.
Now, Bruce, let me ask you this. It's going to reset at the start of each quarter, so there is no carryover.
No carryover as far as team fouls.
Now,
is the way I understand it.
Overtime. What happens?
That's a good question.
Oh, that is a good question. I wonder if you just keep going.
Yeah, I would. I'm. That's a great question, because I am not sure. I'd hate to comment one way or the other. I'll just be honest and tell you that I don't know that. I have not looked at that rule to that aspect yet. So I don't want to say anything that's going to be negative, but are not correct.
Well, I'm sure it won't be the first time you said something incorrect. But if you come up with an answer,
I've been talking all day, Mo.
If you come up with an answer, shoot me a text or something, because I'm interested if it resets again, or
Correct.
if it continues from the end of regulation.
That yes, and I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong. I did not. I don't know that off the top of my head, so I need to look at that myself. And as soon as I do, I'll shoot you a text here in a little while.
Do because we need a little clarity on that.
All right, so the rule reads: eliminates the 1-and-1 for common fouls beginning with the this is what the NFHS has put out. It says at the end of each quarter.
Okay.
The end of the fourth quarter would be the end of a quarter.
Yep. So under that understanding, then it would reset to start overtime. And of course, you're playing
how many folks are going to lose their minds, Bruce, when somebody picks up a foul at overtime and they go to inbound the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to foul 4 times in 4 minutes to get to the, if you're behind, or if you're getting, you get 4 fouls there and you're still not shooting a foul shot as an offensive team, and you're having to inbound the ball four separate times. So in a way that, to me, that helps the defense. So, so that'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. And based off what it says here, I'm assuming that it goes back to 0. So there you go. Not the only rule changes. They'll go to 4 throw-in spots, 28-foot line, and just 3 feet outside of the lane, unless the defense knocks the ball out of bounds. Then it'll go to the spot. But that seems like a safety thing and a positive, Bruce, just because when you're not throwing the ball in front of a bench or something like that, that seems to be really.
Folks playing at Summertown will appreciate that.
This seems like a really good thing.
Yeah, I think so, and I think again. Looks to me like it's going to clean some things up. Doesn't that sound right to you guys?
Well, and it also gives coaches the ability to draw up plays from specific spots, knowing that's pretty close to where you're going to be.
Yeah, a little bit more of an NBA type feel, where you got set inbounds for set places, I think.
Bruce, we appreciate it. We're going to let you get out of here. And again, always a great time talking to you. And we look forward to talking to you again during the summer.
All right. Yeah, we crank up with our camps in Memphis and Lebanon and Franklin here in about 3 weeks. And so we're excited about that. And we've got almost a little over 200 teams, boys and girls, competing in those camps. So we're excited about that.
Ought to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. I don't know how much fun, but it'll be a lot of work. But anyway, well, thanks, guys, for having me on, and I appreciate it anytime, okay?
Hey, thank you, Bruce. We appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & LYNE Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlyne.com. Jones & LYNE Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Welcome back to Today's Better Health. I'm Colleen Barton, and I'm here with Dr. Gil Kentoff and Dr. Wendy Toohey, and we're talking about the latest treatments in back and neck pain.
Many people, Colleen, come to see us with neck and back pain, and they develop tingling and numbness down the arm or lower back pain that develops into sciatica shooting down their leg. And for these patients, we have an advanced treatment technology, non-surgical decompression therapy that we really introduced to this area. It separates the vertebrae and creates a suction to allow fluids and nutrients back in to heal the disc naturally, relieving pressure on the nerve and on the joint. It's an amazing treatment.
We've been helping patients like this for the last 30 years, helping them get back to work, get back to their family, get back to the life they want to live.
I mean, it really is amazing. Technology helping us to live pain-free and better lives.
Right.
And I bet you have a special offer.
The first 25 callers will receive an examination, x-rays, review of our findings, and their first treatment, all for $39.
Call 615-551-3897 today to receive this special offer.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you on this Friday as we get you ready for the weekend. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun with Super Regionals and, of course, Major League Baseball, WNBA action this weekend, and, of course, the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Final as well. But football's king, and that's why we go to Fox Sports' Ben Arthur as he joins us to talk a little bit about Titans minicamp and what was the biggest storyline to come out of this camp. Ben, welcome in. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, Ben. Thanks again for joining us. What caught your eye out at St. Thomas Sports Park this week?
Well, I think number one, you have to start with Kevin Byard, him being out there at mandatory minicamp after not being there for OTAs and kind of listening to when he finally did talk on Thursday, kind of what he said and also what he didn't say. It just seems like there still isn't, a finality or closure to the situation, right? The situation being the Titans asking him to take a pay cut, which he refused, and it just doesn't seem like everything is right in regards to that relationship between the Titans and Byard. I guess that's something to kind of monitor as we continue to move forward. And then I think the second thing would just kind of be this DeAndre Hopkins talk starting to emerge. We saw the report a few days ago that he is scheduled to visit Nashville, visit with the Titans. Mike Vrabel had confirmed that he will be visiting with the team. And obviously when you have a player of that caliber, a receiver at that caliber, at a position where we've been talking so long this offseason about kind of why haven't the Titans really done anything, and now they're entertaining a guy who's been, one of the best receivers of his generation, that whole possibility of them possibly agreeing to terms to the contract. So those were probably the two things that stood out. I mean, for the most part on the field, it was, I think, kind of a lot of what we saw in OTAs, kind of the rookies kind of getting broken in, Traylon Burks looking like a different player. I think that's a big continuous storyline this offseason, but those are probably some of the things that have stood out the most to me.
Ben Arthur of Fox Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And Ben, I kind of said that because I hesitate to bring up another writer's work to get your thought on it. And I don't want to insult you or anything like that. But Joe Rexrode of The Athletic has an article that posted this morning, you know, kind of tying the Kevin Byard situation and the DeAndre Hopkins situation together, and basically saying that if the Titans are actually in the running for Hopkins, then they're not getting rid of Byard because they feel like Hopkins is going to help them compete.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's the piece. And
Byard has to be there for them to compete. I mean, is that a train of thought that makes sense from your way of thinking? Have you seen that piece?
Yeah, in full transparency, I haven't read Joe's piece, so I can't comment directly on what he said. But according to kind of your synopsis and that thinking, that does make sense. I mean, we've kind of talked so much this offseason about, you know, are the Titans rebuilding? Are they retooling? What exactly are they doing? But I think kind of the theme, though, is that they still want to be competitive, even if the roster is going to look a little different. We've talked really all offseason about them possibly moving Ryan Tannehill, them possibly moving Derrick Henry. Are they actually going to ink Jeffrey Simmons to that multi-year deal? Like all these, Jeff is in here for the long term. Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are still here. Kevin Byard is still here. That they've added some new pieces around those guys, but I think talking about like, are the Titans actually a legitimate contender? That's a whole nother conversation. But I think that it's clear that the Titans still want to compete. That they want to do their best to compete at a high level to win the division. One that looks like Jacksonville is kind of in the forefront right now, but clearly that they still want to be competitive, and that's kind of who Mike Vrabel is, right? I think for anyone that, you know, that thinks that it just kind of makes sense for them to kind of take a down year and just kind of reset and look to get competitive again in 2024. I don't think that's in Mike Vrabel's DNA, and I think if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins and then you let Kevin Byard go, that's kind of a conflicting message, right? So yeah, I think if you do bring in DeAndre Hopkins, Kevin Byard is going to be here. So yeah.
Why don't you just ask him, Mo? He's right there.
The mayor?
Yeah, just ask him what he thinks.
What's up?
Ben, you know, obviously there were a lot of big storylines going into this mini camp, specifically at the quarterback position. That being said, the DeAndre Hopkins news kind of threw that off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there is a better chance of DeAndre Hopkins being a Titan or Will Levis playing quarterback for the Titans?
There's a better chance of DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans. It's very clear right now that Ryan Tannehill is still the guy. He's still the starter, still the leader. You just kind of look at how he's interacting with everyone on the field, interacting with the offense, with his receivers after plays. He's been by far the most consistent quarterback. Malik and Will have both had their good moments and their bad moments. And I think Ryan Tannehill has definitely been the calming force, as he should be, right? He's been in the NFL for a decade at this point. He's really comfortable with this offense, even though we know it is changing with Tim Kelly now the play caller. But yeah, Ryan Tannehill, as of right now, he's still the guy. Could that change mid-season, late season? Sure. But right now it's definitely Ryan Tannehill's team still, and so I would say that there's a better chance of DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans than Will Levis being QB1 right away.
That's good to hear, because
I don't think it's just good to hear. I think it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's good to hear because it makes
because
sense.
it makes sense. Yeah, that's a good point. That's fair. That's
Now,
fair.
defensively, this team is still without Harold Landry. Not sure when he's going to be back, but he obviously is going to be a massive piece to this defense next year. Titans, do they feel like they have a solid core on defense as they sit right now? Obviously they do. They didn't draft anybody. They gotta feel pretty good.
Yeah, they should feel pretty good, right? I mean, I think their front line defense, like the starters, like at the top, they're very good. I think the depth in particular, like on the defensive line, is kind of still where there are some question marks. But I still think this could be a very good defense. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons wasn't healthy for like half the year. Harold Landry obviously didn't play the whole year. I think Roger McCreary being in year 2 will make a huge difference. I think so much of the talk has been around the offensive guys being in year 2, like Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips, but Roger McCreary is the guy who played just about every game and just about every snap. And he had his good moments and he had his really bad moments too, which I think come as a cornerback and being on an island and kind of what comes with that position. I think he could be really, really good in year 2. Christian Fulton, it's going to be a contract year for him. So there's definitely motive for him to put his best tape out there. Sean Murphy Bunting is a very good young veteran cornerback. And I like their new DB coach, Chris Harris, who brings a ton of energy. And we know Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker are still in the back end at safety. It's still a very strong defense. Linebacker, I didn't even mention linebacker, but I think Azeez Al-Shire is kind of a 1-for-1 replacement for David Long Jr. and Monty
David Long Jr., who was injured in Dolphins camp earlier this week, by the way.
Yeah, so that move is kind of looking pretty good that they let him walk. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the front line is really strong. I think just a matter of depth is kind of the big question right now. We know the issues the Titans have had with injuries. And so if some of those guys start to go down, especially up front, you just kind of think like, are they going to be okay? And so that's maybe the one thing I think about. But I think for another year, this team is going to be carried by defense. The Titans are going to go as far as their defense carries them, I believe.
To that end, how important is former Jaguars defensive end Arden Key to that defense at this point?
Yeah, he's huge. He's I didn't mention him, but he's essentially DeMarcus Walker's replacement. Like I think DeMarcus had 6 or 7 sacks last year. He was one of their top sack guys. And I think Arden Key fills that role, kind of maybe that number 3 outside linebacker spot. He had similar production as DeMarcus Walker last season, but he's younger and he's a little bit longer and more athletic, and so I think the upside is there, and he's going to be huge, for this pass rush. And I think Rashad Weaver too. I think those two guys, younger veterans, so to speak, are really going to have to play big, especially we don't know when exactly Harold Landry is going to really be out there to the level that he was before he got hurt. If you guys remember, Harold would never be out of games. He would play just about every snap, and it's going to take some time for him to kind of get back in the groove. And I think just if you can have that depth, that strong depth right behind him, guys like Arden and Rashad, I think it'll pay huge dividends for Tennessee.
You kind of feel like Rashad in particular, this may be kind of the breakout year for him. Got hurt his rookie year in 21, 5.5 sacks last year. This is a guy who, when he's out there, sort of like Key was saying about himself during these spring drills, when Weaver's out there, you know it. And I just kind of get a feeling that he's ready to take that next step.
Yeah, I do too. Like you said, like last year was his first full year to really be out there. Like I think with year 3 guys is really when you see the kind of player that they're going to be. And I think just in Rashad's case too, like you said, not really having a year 1 and us knowing he had that upside. I think really from that first preseason game, his rookie year, if you remember against the Falcons, when he just demolished that offensive line, and so he's a guy who has a lot of upside too. And again, just kind of with the defense needing to lead this team, the stronger the pass rush is. I mean, the pass rush is the strength of this team, and the more quality guys you have rushing the passer, the better for this team. And so Rashad, I'm expecting big things for him in 2023.
Moving to the other side of the ball, back to offense real quick, because I know that it's been a topic on this show, but got to feel confident, or at least a little more confident, that Treylon Burks was able to make it through with his ability to breathe through the entire camp. And it sounds goofy, but the fact that he didn't have to, go to the locker room and take breathing treatments during camp, that's got to be something that the Titans are excited and happy to see.
Yeah, Treylon looks like a totally different player in every respect. Like the way even the small things, like how he talks to the media, like he smiles now. I don't remember him smiling like once all of last year. Is smiling. He looks faster. He looks like he's in better shape. He's leaner, stronger. He's looking better on the field. He's embodying what a number 1 receiver should look like. And the Titans for sure are going to need it with the concerns they have with that room as is. But yeah, Treylon has done all the right things, and you could tell from what the coaches are saying, and the receivers coach Rob Moore was saying that too. Like Treylon is just carrying himself like a different player now, and I think a lot of that is just being in the NFL for a year, knowing how the routine is going to look, and knowing what your diet is, and the nutrition and the strength program, and kind of knowing what to expect, and just having been, in Treylon's case in particular, having been in Nashville virtually the entire offseason, making sure he's training in the heat and doing those conditioning drills. So what we saw when we first saw him as a rookie doesn't happen again. He's kind of taken all those steps. He's checked all the boxes. Really, it's just getting to the games and seeing how much growth he's really made in terms of performance when it matters, but in terms of doing everything right at this stage, he's done that and passed with flying colors.
It's exciting news. Exciting to see, because obviously the Titans have a lot of question marks. Hopefully we'll have some answers here soon in regards to DeAndre Hopkins. No, he will not sign on the cheap, but I do think that
the relationship that DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Vrabel have from Vrabel's time in Houston is going to play a role in this. So I don't know that I'd necessarily be surprised if Hopkins leaves a little money on the table to come here.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Yeah. But again, plenty of questions, especially at the middle linebacker position. We'll see how that shapes out throughout the summer, and we'll talk to you, Ben, about that throughout the rest of the off season, hopefully. So looking forward to more conversations
talking about the Tennessee Titans, man.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thank you for joining us, Ben. Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, sitting in for Chris Yao. And joining us now is University of Tennessee Southern men's basketball coach, DUGAN LYNE. He's joining us on video. There he is. Coach, good afternoon.
Man, how's it going, guys? Great to be here. Glad I could join you guys and look forward to talk a little UTS men's basketball.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. Now, Wade tells me, are you out of town as well? Are you out of pocket?
I am. I'm enjoying a little family vacation here in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. So
we appreciate you allowing us to interrupt for a few minutes, and we'll try not to take too much of your time. But I just thought it was interesting, Coach. I got word. I think this may have initially been discussed while I was out of pocket, but apparently UT Southern is leaving or has left the Mid-South Conference and is going back to the Southern States for the upcoming school year. And I guess that'll be effective July 1st, July 3rd.
Yeah.
Here soon.
Yeah. So we are going back to the Southern States. Obviously, our time at the Mid-South was short and sweet. You know, the Mid-South Conference, as far as basketball goes, was great. The competition was, you know, elite as far as the NAI level goes. But that does not take away anything from the Southern States. I mean, just I guess 2 years ago, we had 2 Southern State schools competing for the national championship in men's basketball as well. So, I mean, there's no easy conference, and we're not sitting here jumping to a conference that you know, we believe is inferior by any stretch of the imagination.
So what prompted the move, Coach?
You know, I think that there are some other schools in the Mid-South that kind of had expressed some ideas of going a different direction. We're not the only ones. I mean, Life University left this past year. This past year was their first year in the Southern States. Pikeville is actually leaving at the same time as Shawnee State up in Ohio is leaving as well. Thomas More is going Division II. And so it was just kind of one of those things where the number of teams in the Mid-South was kind of dwindling, and maybe we got out ahead of the posse maybe just because, you know, the Mid-South may not we don't know what the future of the Mid-South was, but we definitely knew what the future of the Southern States was, being there and having a really good relationship with Mike Hall, our commissioner. So we're really excited to be headed back that way.
Mid-South looks a little, I don't know if unwieldy is the word, but certainly a lot of schools in that conference. Is that a plus, a minus as you look at it, as you head out?
Yeah, I think that was one of the draws back to the Southern States, was just the number of schools that were going to be joining the Southern States in the future. We are not the only school joining the Southern States this year. Point University is joining. Another one is escaping me.
Thomas University.
Thomas University is joining as well. And then I believe that we'll probably look to add a few more from, you know, just the conversations that we've had at the conference meetings and things like that. So, you know, I think that the Southern States is definitely growing, and I do think it's a good thing. I just think that stability is key, and one of the best ways to be stable is to have a large conference and have a large pool of teams that are invested in the conference as well.
Coach, you've been with the school obviously a long time, and especially the last several years as the head coach, but you're familiar with all the sports. How much of a plus or a negative? I assume it's going to be a plus there. How much is the travel going to improve? If nothing else, we know that those basketball trips in December are a lot easier to make it down to Alabama and Georgia than they certainly are going up to Ohio, right?
Absolutely. Well, you don't have to contend with snow. You don't have to look at the weather forecast and really start thinking about, we're going to get snowed in, or are we going to be able to make it to Georgetown, or are we going to be able to make it to Cincinnati? So that's one thing. I think that's obviously, you know, the safety of just traveling is a big plus, but we also have a lot of schools that are pretty near to us. You know, Blue Mountain's less than 3 hours away. Dalton State's less than 3 hours away. Faulkner is about 3 hours away. Stillman is less than 3 hours away. And just kind of the familiarity of those guys anyway was a huge plus as well. But I definitely think that travel had a little bit to do with it. And especially for those spring sports, man. Nobody wants to go play baseball in January and February up in Ohio. So, you know, I think that, you know, baseball, softball, they're really looking forward to being able to, you know, head down to Montgomery and Mobile and play in a little bit warmer climate, you know, during their season.
No doubt. And that will be a welcome addition for you guys for sure, not having to contend with those severe weather possibilities. I'm also kind of curious. This is a conference that you guys are returning to where the schools had success across a variety of sports, men's basketball especially, making a great run, winning the tournament a couple years ago back in 2015. And I guess I'm curious, what is the chatter maybe collectively from the conference or just the other member institutions? I assume that they're excited to have you guys back in because it's going to make the league that much stronger.
Absolutely. I think that adding us and Point and Thomas, it just adds to more depth. There are no easy games. You know, you're not adding a patsy. Thomas was a national tournament team as far as men's basketball goes. And then obviously I believe Point has got a really good softball or baseball team, I believe. So, you know, you're just adding sports that continue to add depth, and these schools are putting athletics as a priority, much like UT Southern. So, you know, like I said, it's exciting to be able to go back to a conference where we see a lot of familiar faces and, you know, going to enjoy the camaraderie that we had before we left.
Dugan LYNE, the men's basketball coach at the University of Tennessee Southern, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Again, Dugan, going back to the Southern states, what was the conversation like, you know, between you all to what you know, I guess? What was the conversation like with Southern states officials, school officials, when you say, hey, we left 3 years ago, we'd really like to come back? I mean, how does that go over? Because I know my alma mater was connected with going back to the Sun Belt for about that long during some realignment, and some folks put the quietus on that. But I mean, going back, how has that been received?
Well, the coaches are looking forward to it. Our athletic director, Brandy Paul, has done a really great job of being very transparent in the process with us, you know, taking our feedback. And, you know, ultimately, she believes this was the best move for us. And I think that there is a resounding vote of confidence of absolutely, it definitely is the right move for us in going back to the Southern states. And she's done a great job just in all parts since, you know, taking over as athletic director. But, you know, as far as this move right here, she's definitely done an outstanding job of putting us back in that position to do what is best for, you know, for our athletic department and ultimately UT Southern.
I guess my question was, do you have a feel for how well it's been received across the Southern states? The members of the conference that you're coming back to.
They're definitely excited to have us back. Once again, it goes back to that whole, you're adding depth. I mean, you want to have a strong conference regardless of the sport, men's soccer, women's soccer, softball, baseball, basketball. And I just think that, you know, our track record is there. Men's and women's soccer is perennial powers, and the baseball had a rebound year this year and had a good year this year. And softball in the past couple of years has been a force. I think the last year that we were in the Southern states, I think that they made the national tournament. So, you know, they are going to be happy to see us and definitely well received to be back in the Southern States.
Coach Dugan LYNE, the men's basketball coach at University of Tennessee Southern down in Pulaski, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Coach, we appreciate your time. Know you're trying to be on vacation out in Colorado. Get off this computer and go out and enjoy that weather, and look forward to speaking with you again here soon. Yeah, awesome. I greatly appreciate you guys having me on, and I would obviously love to be back on anytime you guys are free to ask. So
thank you, Dugan.
Don't say it if you don't mean it. We appreciate it, Coach.
Mean every word.
Awesome, man. Thank you.